recover. Huh?
That one I'm gonna cook.
Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis. Welcome to Mindful Monday. Today is our exclusive day. We're not in studio today. I'm at the St. Kitts Marriott Hotel. And what is happening today? We want to call attention today to the exciting conference, technology conference that's happening here today. It is called the CTU, the CTU and ICT Week, held here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we have been welcoming prime ministers, ministers, and other ministers of governments from across the region. So we have some exciting discussions here today. But before I get into those discussions, remember, we have a word of the week. Our word for this week is solution-oriented. And we do that. Technology solves a lot of problems, doesn't it? Technology gives access. Technology lessens the time in which we do things. Technology gives us access to lots of information. But equally, we have lots of drawbacks on technology, and therefore we would always need solutions. For example, technology can threaten the safety of our information. It can expose us to unwanted advances and unwanted types of pictures, music. It can also expose us to accessing all of the good music. So while it's good, we also have to deal with the drawbacks. So through the lens of technology this week, I want you to look at solving problems. Let us be solution-oriented. As you sit by your desk today, I'm going to tell you a bit more about CTU. It's the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. It is headquartered in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have the International Telecommunications Union. Every 2 years, they have a conference. It moves from one island to the next. The last conference was in Barbados. And now it's time for St. Kitts. So we have countries represented here from as far northwest of the Caribbean, Turks and Caicos. We have representation from them. The Cayman Islands didn't make it. We have Jamaica. We have the British Virgin Islands. Of course, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia. We have Trinidad and Tobago. Barbados, they're not here in person, but technology has made it easy, and they are being represented virtually. We also have some of the mainland territories, Caribbean mainland territories are represented, Guyana and Belize. So these countries have gathered, and they're going to be speaking about technology, all the trending issues of technology, how they affect policy development, and how they affect us. That is what is happening here at the Marriott. So I just want you to zero in on, this is the banner. It starts on Monday, today. They have some pre-meetings today, and tonight is the opening ceremony and cocktail, and it ends on the 4th of October with a tech fest at National Heroes Park. And we're going to invite you to come on out. It starts from 10 to 7 in the evening, where they will be displaying different kinds of technology. I understand they have little coding, interactive activities, virtual reality. So we are here. I want to bring your attention to it. I want us to be solution-oriented. Let us look at how technology is going to help us. We also have to look at how it's going to harm us and how we can protect ourselves. So with that introduction, and you may be by your desk or still walking, I want you to tune in, because I am bringing you front row preview of what is happening here. And now we would now take a word from our sponsors before I walk around and get some little chats and feelings about what is happening here. So let's tune in and await our word from the sponsors. If you zoom the camera over here, in the meantime, you see some young people walking. They just had a session with the International Secretary General of the International Telecommunications Union, Mrs. Doreen Bogdan Martin. She's the first female. Also, she is the first time she's visiting the Caribbean and this region since she became the Secretary General.
Together expertise from all these stakeholder groups into the same room to discuss these two main issues, one related to single Caribbean ICT regulator and the other related to regulatory management of OTTs and big tech services in the Caribbean.
In 34 years, they need to be looking back. Where we came from, where we want to go. As Stalin said, we came from the same place, but where are we going? There's one destiny for us. Either we agree on it or we don't agree. And if we do, we can go somewhere.
I was in Grenada with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 1989 when he tabled proposals for the CARICOM single market and the CARICOM telecommunications union to his colleagues. So that started way back in 1989 at a meeting in Grenada under A&R Robinson's initiative to establish it. And then finally it was a
Okay, and I found Mr. Nigel Casimir, the Secretary General of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. As I said, it's headquartered in Trinidad. So Nigel Casimir, where are you from? Are you from Trinidad?
Yes, I'm from Port of Spain, Trinidad.
Port of Spain, Trinidad. So tell us how it feels to be in St. Kitts and having the conference in St. Kitts.
Wonderful, actually. The CTU, Caribbean Telecommunications Union, has all these 20 member states of the Caribbean. So in the time that I've been with CTU, which is about 15 years now, I've had the opportunity to visit almost all of the member states. Right? So I've been here before, but each of the islands has its own charm and vibe. And it's always great to be back in St. Kitts.
Very good. So what's exciting? Anything exciting about this conference that you want to share with us in terms of the activities or what you'll be discussing?
Yes, definitely. So we were here for the whole week. We call it CTU ICT Week. It will include, the core of it is really CTU meetings of the ministers from each of those 20 countries I talked about, as well as the permanent secretaries, the high government officials from each of these. We have an executive council and a conference of ministers. But around that, we've built a lot of different activities, capacity building type things and so on. So today, Monday, we're going to have our ministerial seminar. The ministerial seminar is an opportunity we take to bring or keep our ministers up to date with technological developments. We're also going to have a Caribbean Youth Network meeting starting in maybe
a few minutes.
A few minutes, yeah.
I'm hoping to grab one from there.
Right. So, yes. And that's a recent initiative of the CTU to involve youth in the whole ICT mix, because they're the ones who are the heavy users. They're the ones who are what are called digital natives. They grew up with this thing.
I like that, digital natives.
So they're the ones who need to help plan and project into the future in terms of the use of ICT. Right, so we have the youth network today, we have the ministerial today. I talked about the conference of ministers and the executive council. Later on in the week, we'll also have a regulators forum. So the regulators from each of our member states are going to get together on Thursday, and there are going to be some KIT-specific activities as well, run by the ministry here. Things like looking at things like cybersecurity.
Yes.
And on Friday, there's going to be a tech fest.
Yes.
At your Heroes Park.
Yes.
So the public is invited
informed.
to come out to that.
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much, Nigel, for
Thank you.
having a chat with me and letting our public know what's happening and letting them know it's not just the ministers dealing with issues, but we are integrating everything. Our young people, we're going to have a little fun with the technology, and you're going to have some fun at the opening ceremony
At the
tonight.
opening ceremony this evening.
Thank you
Indeed.
so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So we thank Mr. Casimir for that. That's one view. And let us now invite Akwanje. Yes, one of our youths. I'm going to invite one of our youths who was just in the meeting with Mrs. Doreen Bogdan Martin. He's right here. Akwanje, say hello. Oh, Akwanje has to be mic'd. So while we wait on Akwanje being mic'd, they're going to give you the mic. While we wait on that, we are going to take a break. Or we don't take a break. We're going to get Akwanje's because we have had some meetings. He was in with Mrs. Bogdan Martin. He probably can give us a little glimpse of what they discussed and whether he's excited to be here or not. He'll let us know. Yes. I know I recognize beyond the Akwanje some members of the St. Kitts Youth Parliament. Hello. I grabbed the Akwanje first. Yes. So Akwanje is a member of the St. Kitts Nevis Youth Parliament.
St. Kitts National.
National, sorry. St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. How could I forget? Now, Akwanje, tell us about yourself. What do you do? And tell us about the meeting. What are some of the takeaways from the meeting you just had?
Well, my name is Akwanje Robinson. I'm 18 years old. I am an avid environmentalist, and as such, I work as an executive research officer within the Ministry of Environment, Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment. Just to shed some light on the meeting that I just attended, one of the issues that we focused on was the lack of awareness as it relates to ICT in the Caribbean. And before awareness happens, we can't just jump to the infrastructural capacity that we desire to achieve. Before we achieve the infrastructure that we need to harness that connectivity, we must first have the education among our people. So that was one of the broad issues that we focused on.
Okay, so do you agree there's a lack of awareness?
Definitely, I do agree that.
But you young people use it so much.
But as it relates to the nitty-gritty.
Like how to protect yourself.
Right.
Yes, we need to be more
policy.
aware of how to protect ourselves from harm, etc. Because we love the technology.
And copyright.
And copyright.
Intellectual property rights.
There you have it. Copyright and intellectual property rights. So they have learned much more because I know they love it. They love the technology, but let's keep in mind, I'm emphasizing copyright, intellectual property, and cybersecurity.
Right.
Because how to keep ourselves protected. Even though there are many layers of security, we have to always be alert, correct?
Precisely.
Thank you so much, Akwanje, for being here. Now we're going to take a break and play some music because we're going to change locations. This is only one area of the conference, and we have to change locations to see what preview you will get next or who I will bump into next. Okay, so hold on. We'll be back.
34 years, they need to be looking back.
I should preview it.
Where we came from, where we want to go. As Stalin said, we came from the same place, but where are we going? There's one destiny for us. Either we agree with it or we don't agree. And if we do, we can go somewhere.
I was in Grenada with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 1989 when he tabled proposals for the CARICOM single market and the CARICOM telecommunications union to his colleagues. So that started way back in 1989 at a meeting in Grenada under A&R Robinson's initiative to establish it. And then finally it was agreed in the Bahamas in April 1989 that the CTU will establish an agreement to move it forward.
So I stand as Secretary General now on the shoulders of giants who've gone before me. And so when I go back even to the first Secretary General with whom I've had the privilege of speaking, Mr. Ramnarine, again, I'm amazed at the environment back then, at the ambitions back then as well that these people held, and the fact that they were able to advance the work of the Secretariat and the work of CARICOM in general through information and communication technology. And I wish I could travel back through time, I'd be there, but I'm here now and I'm happy to build on their work and to take the organization forward. Former Secretary General Bernadette Lewis, under whom I worked for some time, for 4 years, prior to taking up this role, I learned quite a bit from her. And I would say I would credit her with maintaining a relevance of the organization. There was a time when it struggled financially, reputationally as well for various reasons. But I think Bernadette was able to raise the profile of the organization through her hard work.
One of the things that we recognized, the reputation of the organization was tarnished. So everything we did, we had to be, do the right thing. We had to deal with members with integrity. We had to demonstrate that we are not playing favorites. We had to be neutral. So a lot of our conduct and the protocols we observed were those of excellence. Yes, and everything we did, it had to be great stuff. It was really about raising awareness of the transformative power of information and communication technologies.
The main task really was revitalizing the CTU as an organization. And there were great developments taking place around the Caribbean in terms of telecommunications, certainly. We've been able, through the efforts over several years of the small staff here at the Secretariat, to restore, and I would say even grow, the reputation of the CTU in terms of the work that it does. We've been able to convene multiple fora within the Caribbean to deal with specific matters related to telecommunications policy.
My vision for the CTU for the next 5 to 10 years is to continue to build on our successes to ensure that the organization enjoys greater support from our member states and that we continue to be in tune with their needs. That we continue to, and we build on the success in terms of our representation at the international level, that when people hear about the Caribbean, they understand that we are very strong, that we represent a very diverse community, and that we're able to not just consume technology, but we're able to contribute globally to development of new technology. And we build a next generation of young people who are able to take over from me and from all of the other policymakers, our next generation of ministers, our next generation of global leaders in this ICT space.
Okay, we are getting a sneak preview of what's happening back there. So this is the ballroom where most of the meetings will happen. And behind those glass doors, there's a little excitement there. So let's find out what it is. Let me help you. Now, you have many digital screens. Now you see some booths, some local businesses will be featuring their products. You have the cable over here, and we have the Taiwanese. Yes, the ICTs. They're very big with ICTs. I remember where the building is housed now. Your government helped us with that. Thank you so much. Come on. And of course, they'll be having their breaks here. But what I want to note, if you look at all surrounding you are digital boards, and there's no printed material at this workshop. This conference, not workshop, there are only QR codes. Now let's take a peek in here. In here, hi, in here is the secretariat. If you look here, you see all of the registration badges. So persons are going to come here to collect it. Good. They have their little corner with the equipment. So hardly any paper. You see all laptops. We're reducing the carbon footprint. Good. And then we'll take a peek over here. Yes. A peek over here where we are setting up for the main event. This is where the main event takes place. So let's get here. And we are going to invite my new guest, my other guests. You can go in for. So I have a guest, another guest. I have another guest, and joining me, and he is Philip Carter of the Cable.
Good morning.
So, good morning. Welcome to Mindful Mondays.
All right.
And let Philip tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do at the Cable?
So I am responsible for sales and marketing at the Cable across both consumer and business. So I'm responsible for revenue, how our brand is presented, all of the marketing initiatives that you see, all the sales initiatives that you see. So I'm responsible for all of that.
Great. And thank you. We have to thank Philip and his team and the Cable for being the local gold sponsor for this conference. They are the only, let me emphasize, the only gold sponsor. So we want to thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
Sure.
The ministry and their team and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union for assisting in this regard. And congratulate them on stepping up to taking that. So tell us why you considered this conference. What are you looking forward to? What are your expectations?
So a conference like this is very important, especially across the region, right? Typically, we see these types of conferences happening quite often in North America and in Europe, but across the Caribbean, we don't do them as often as we need to. So as you see here, we're talking about bridging technologies and generally bridging a digital divide across the Caribbean. That's critical for us. Survival across the global landscape begins with digitizing. So a lot of our policy, a lot of our infrastructure needs to be updated. And I would like to commend the government for supporting an indigenous operator like the Cable and allowing and enabling us to sponsor events like this and to keep the local Kittitian population at the forefront of what we need to do.
Thank you very much. And that is so important because as in my introduction, I was saying we love the technology, especially the young people, they use it. It is very good. There are many advantages because it has made the world seem like a very tiny space.
Oh, it's collapsed the world into, one click and you're there anywhere, right?
But equally, it can be harmful.
Sure.
And one topic that will be addressed is cybersecurity.
Yes.
You want to tell us your thoughts on that and what involvement Cable may have and the importance of it?
So cybersecurity is a huge buzzword across the world. Just last week, we saw a MoneyGram outage that affected persons here in St. Kitts. They would have had no idea what was happening. You go to the MoneyGram office and it was closed. And later on, you found out that it was a global outage. No.
I had not a clue.
MoneyGram is a global operator, very well funded, lots of resources, and even still, they would have lost maybe a week worth of revenue globally. What does that do to a business? What businesses can survive here in St. Kitts, closing their doors for 7 days straight with no revenue, no income? It has a significant impact, and here at the Cable, we want to sensitize persons to this risk, and myself and my team can speak to business people, CIOs, CEOs, MDs, about how they can kind of protect their business and mitigate some of the risk, because it's not a matter of if it's going to happen to you, it is a matter of when it happens to you. You need to be prepared. Yeah.
You know, you said that, and I recently had a discussion, because with all the layers of security that we have, the banks have, Cable would have, all institutions
financial
have,
institutions,
financial
yes.
institutions have. I was told that it is when it happens.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
there are minds out there always trying to,
yes,
navigate and get around the system. So I think the key thing for all people is to understand it will happen. But what are some of the steps we can take in terms of, one, of course, increasing our awareness.
Yeah.
But any other little advice you have for people?
Beginning with your frontline employees, right? The biggest attack surface that you would find across most businesses begins with their people. Everyone has access to a device. Everyone will have access to your network. So if your employees are not, trained up to avoid phishing attacks, so recognize these scams when they pop up and appear in their inbox. You've had financial institutions and other large conglomerates, I won't name them, but they've been paying out hundreds of thousands of dollars to fraudulent actors who would pose as someone legitimate, and a secretary who may not have done security awareness training, for example, may miss something like that. Well, this looks like it came from accounting. Let me go ahead and process that. And you create risk across the entire surface of your business if you don't train and have your employees aware of the security training that is there. One, because it's available through the Cable. You can get security awareness training from the Cable for your entire employees.
I was not aware of that.
Yes, you can. And what that can do is to help mitigate that risk at the very surface level. And your IT will take care of all of the equipment and so on. But even that is not immune to risk. So, yeah.
Wow. That example you gave drilled down in the different levels of how your awareness.
Yeah, so at the Cable, the understanding must be deep. You cannot just think, I'm going to buy a firewall or download a VAST or some off-the-shelf cybersecurity platform that will help to protect you. Yes, that's good enough for home, but if you're in the Ministry of Health, if you are working with the police, if you are working...
Passports.
Immigration. The financial sector, of course, it goes without saying, insurance. There's a massive attack surface, especially here in the Caribbean, where the policy frameworks and the infrastructure, the access to a lot of the tools that are available in the wider world, a lot of persons here do not know that they have access to these things, one. And when they do have access, it is not implemented consistently. So, you'll find that there's changes of the guard in many organizations. And, that repeated effort to keep staff aware of these risks. If a secretary moves on, for example, a new employee comes in and they don't get trained, your risk is right there again. So it has to be consistent all the time. I can't harp on that enough.
Okay. So for you out there with your businesses, you can check the Cable for security awareness training, and you have really jolted me with that this morning to know the importance,
One click.
Can do
your
and you
entire
can
organization,
lose
of course.
everything. And equally, we love it. But what about children?
Yeah.
Are there any, or is there sufficient focus on cybersecurity awareness for children? Because one of the things I know is that you can have a lot of abuse online.
Yes.
Where children are concerned. One of the characteristics of these abusers, they're very patient and they know how to isolate children.
Yes.
So what advice or guidance or thing you would like to give us?
In terms of stuff like that, if you need to monitor your network personally, right? As an individual, as a parent myself, there's nothing my daughter can do on her phone that I cannot see. So you need to maintain that administrator level of access through your child's life. One, social media is also a very ticklish issue. In the US right now, there are discussions happening about how they regulate that and the impact of social media and the effect that it can have on young minds, right? So a lot of the persons that invented these things like Instagram, Facebook, they do not let their own kids use Facebook and IG because of what it does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, but look it up.
Yes. You see, so as parents, you're saying we have a responsibility to do this. I am aware that they're having a cybersecurity forum here also on Thursday afternoon. So I'm inviting as many persons as possible to take some time. It's Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock. In between 1 to 3, we would have some advice, more in-depth advice on cybersecurity. So as parents, we have to take responsibility.
Absolutely. It begins with the parents. You cannot rely on an operator to extend cybersecurity efforts through to your residential home. I mean, some operators can offer that, but as a parent, I'm not going to release that responsibility to an operator and just hope that John Brown in IT is doing his job. I need to do my job as a parent.
As a parent. And so I think I can predict that in the discussions that will happen behind those doors on my left, these are some of the issues that will be raised by the ministers in the Caribbean. We certainly have to put the infrastructure in place.
Not just the infrastructure, the legal framework to address some of these cybercrime issues needs to be put in place as well. So these attacks, these crimes may happen, but there are no relevant laws on the books that are relevant to today that allow our governments to go after these actors in partnerships with the EU or in partnerships with the US and so on. So all of that.
So we have to prepare the regulatory framework.
Yes.
And I would even go further to say perhaps more persons, because as you said, I'm taking a glance, I'm casting my mind back to what studies some of our young people are going into, and they seem not to be taking up certain like cybersecurity or delving more deeply into that area.
Yeah, so there's a few, I've seen some persons express an interest. Being in the industry, I would encounter them a lot more than the regular person on the street. However, it would be good to have incubators attached to the UE, open campus and so on across the rest of the region, and not just centralized in Barbados, Trinidad, and Jamaica, to allow the OECS to kind of participate in what's happening in the technical revolution, because there is a technical revolution happening across the world right now. If you look at AI and all of these things happening, a lot of the changes that happened between 1999 and say 2004 are going to happen 10 times faster. Yeah. In a year, many jobs will become irrelevant, obsolete. They will not exist.
It's just like updating the forms.
On cybercrime, I do want to say one thing. There are cybercrime bills in the Caribbean, so it's not that there's not infrastructure there. I don't want any. Don't come after me. I understand that there are cybercrime bills in the Caribbean, but mostly when you hear people talking about cybercrime bills, it is more about threats made on social media, hate speech, that type of thing. It is not really about Bank X got hacked.
So that's a superficial side. Yeah, that's superficial.
There's policy changes that need to be made that will impact the entire country as for its whole framework. It's not just about stopping people from being jerks online.
Yes, and after doing this interview, I have to tell myself again, the technology is good, but we have to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? It's lovely, it's great, but protect ourselves. And that seems to be the motto that we have to leave this conference with. And this is something that I would like the listeners out there to become more interested in and have a pause and say, we love this thing, but how can I protect my child? How can I protect my business? How can I protect myself from these cyber attacks that are just lurking around? Because there's something I understand called the dark web. I've never dabbled in it, but I've heard about it. The dark web, and just by the name in itself, I don't want to go there.
Yeah, a lot of nefarious actors are found there. That law enforcement does monitor the dark web quite actively. So there's nothing Yes, you find a lot of bad stuff there, but the regular Joe is not going to be on the dark web looking around for anything.
No, not the regular Joes.
No.
So you must have a plan. You have to have
If you're
a plan.
going there, you're going there for a specific purpose, and it's likely not good.
Okay, great, great. So one last question.
Yeah.
Does the cable have any initiatives at this time that aligns with the theme or reflects or exemplifies how you're bridging technologies?
Of course. So
tell us about that.
Right now, we're in the middle of hurricane season. We're talking about bridging technologies for sustainable and an inclusive future. If you do not protect your infrastructure, your data right now, what happens in the event of like a cybercrime outage that happened with MoneyGram? It is not always a hurricane, it's not always a flood. Someone could pull a cable out and bring your network down, and it takes you 4 or 5 days to get back up. What's happening? What happens then? So at the cable, we've got disaster recovery and business continuity services. That's what we're pushing right now to allow you to mitigate risks like that. If there is a hurricane, if your network goes down, you can have your backup stored with us or your recovery facilitated through us and allow your business to continue operations even in the event of something catastrophic. So that's what we're discussing right now with many businesses.
Okay, great. And I think that's many people may view that on the back end. They just
of course, it's like insurance, right?
Yes,
you don't need it until you don't know you need it until you need it.
Until you need it.
Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, you need it.
Yes. But thank you, Philip.
You're most
thank
welcome.
you. I learned so much. I feel like I have been a student at your feet in terms of this cybersecurity, and I hope the messages have reached the ears of persons listening out there. And once again, thank you so much for the gold sponsorship you have provided.
You're most welcome.
And I expect to see your team here later
of course,
at the opening ceremony and participating.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So we can hear a word from our sponsors at this time.
Put together expertise from all these stakeholder groups into the same room to discuss these two main issues, one related to single Caribbean ICT regulator and the other related to regulatory management of OTTs and big tech services in the Caribbean.
34 years, they need to be looking back. Where we came from, where we want to go. As Stalin said, we came from the same place, but where are we going? There's one destiny for us. Either we agree with it or we don't agree. And if we do, we can go somewhere.
I was in Grenada with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 1989 when he tabled proposals for the CARICOM single market and the CARICOM Telecommunications Union to his colleagues. So that started way back in 1989 at a meeting in Grenada under A.N.R. Robinson's initiative to establish it. And then finally it was agreed in the Bahamas in April 1989 that the CTU will establish an agreement to move it forward.
So I stand as Secretary General now on the shoulders of giants who've gone before me. And so when I go back even to the first Secretary General with whom I've had the privilege of speaking, Mr. Ramnarai, again, I'm amazed at the...
Yes, and I'm back and I nabbed Ms. Francola John. She is coordinating the organization of the conference. She did it regionally and now she's here on the ground, and she has another role and she's here to tell us about it. It is all about women. Recall in my introduction I said that Mrs. Doreen Bogdan Martin, the International Telecommunication Union Secretary General, is the first female one they have had.
Correct.
So share with us what's happening at the regional level with women, Francola.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Francola John, Stakeholder Engagement Specialist at the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, as well as the CTU's focal point for the ITU, which is the International Telecommunications Union Network of Women. So 2 years ago, the General Conference of Ministers at the CTU made a resolution, agreed on a resolution to establish a Caribbean ICT Caribbean network of women. And that means that the CTU with its 20 member states will then mobilize the member states to really make contributions at an international level to the International Telecommunications Union's plenipotentiary meetings. And annually they have the World Telecommunications Standardization Assembly, World Telecommunications Development Conference, and then on to the plenipotentiary conference, where at every event there are resolutions or inter-American proposals that we put forward to make global decisions on telecommunications. And all of these conferences, they have women who participate in gender-related issues based on national agendas. So what the Caribbean would like to do through CTU is establish this network so that we review these inter-American proposals and make a Caribbean voice, all leading into preparation for global decisions when it comes to ICT. So this is a real important role. And as mentioned, the Secretary General of the ITU, Mrs. Bogdan Martin, she's very passionate about gender issues and women being involved. So it is really, really a pleasure to have her in St. Kitts during this time and really supporting that network of women. Let me just say that I would like to invite everyone to visit the CTU website, ctu.int, where you would see our terms of reference on joining this network. So this network is really for persons who are involved in ICT, which is information, communications, and technology. And if you are interested, please reach out to us. We are establishing this network. Let your voice be heard. You make a contribution to getting involved in global decisions when it comes to ICT. We need you. So we will share our information, but do visit our website. We have a publication called In the Know, and that is K-NOW for the acronym of Network of Women, and we welcome contributions to that as well. And when we contribute to that, we get the awareness, because we have so many women in the region who are practitioners in the field of ICT.
Yes, we do.
How do we encourage young women to get involved in STEM? We talk about cybersecurity, AI, those types of things, that the digital transformation phase. We want women to have a voice. We want women to have a contribution, yes, at every level in these decisions, in these global decisions that are being made. So join us. You're going to hear from us. We're going to invite you to join the network. So it is really a pleasure to be in St. Kitts. This is my second time being here, and it's really a pleasure to be here when Mrs. Bogdan Martin is here.
So all I have to say to Francola is endorsed. Totally endorsed.
Correct.
And I just want to let our women know, go to the site, get involved. We do have many women here who are involved in ICTs.
Exactly.
And I too will play my part in encouraging them to be part of that network.
Young women, join us. That's where it starts. Get involved. We need more women in the field of ICT. And when we look at digital transformation, we would recognize that jobs are evolving.
Yes.
We need more digital skills. We need more women getting involved in these roles, and which will take you up to really government level, private sector, civil society, academia, entrepreneurship. So join the network.
Yes.
Be part of the change.
Thank you so much, Francola.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for wrapping up my show with women. Women's voices appealing to all women.
Thank you so very much,
that brings
Sharon.
us to the end of our show today. I want you to remember what our word is. It is solution-oriented. And I want to emphasize encourage you, to participate in the Cyber Forum Security, which is on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Correct.
Right where I was down there, where we came from, the ballroom, the Marriott Ballroom. And I want to invite you to the St. Kitts Tech Fest on Friday at National Heroes Park. You will have opportunities for your children to participate in coding, virtual reality, see how 3D printing is done, and a variety of activities that you can come out and look at that may attract and stimulate your interest in technology. So long from Mindful Mondays, and I'll see you again next week, this time in studio. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Fantastic.